Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mindfulness with ROOP, the Bellwether series. And today we have our guest, Nicole Morales from California. Nicole is a bruhita, Reiki Master, tarot card reader, and host of Healing with Nicole podcast. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's 9 p.m. over there, and I hope you had a great day today.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much.
Right, right. So, Nicole, I'll just quickly start with all these great works which you are doing, and I just want to ask you, the first question for today's talk would be that, when did you decide that this is the path you want to explore, Reiki and tarot card reading and all?
So tarot card reading kind of came about. My grandmother was battling cancer, and I would pull cards as a
Mhm.
way to kind of like for my mental health or kind of to reflect on the day. I would pull a card and kind of journal about it. That was just kind of a way to kind of cope with everything that was going on with her. She battled cancer for 3 years, and it was really hard for me. And it wasn't until after she passed away that Reiki kind of came into my life. I experienced Reiki and felt the healing of it, felt the how it changed for me, and then I felt like, wow, I want to learn Reiki. And the beautiful thing about it was is that everything happened so quickly, and the
Mhm.
universe kind of like brought me my teacher, the money to be able to pay for the classes. And it was definitely something that was meant to happen in my life. And now I'm a Reiki master teacher, and I never thought
Mhm.
that would happen, but when it's meant to be, I think that the universe gives it to you
Yes,
easily.
absolutely. Yeah. And this word, I was talking to you before the live also, bruhita. I want to know about this word. I've come across it for the first time in life. What is it all about?
So, bruhita means little witch.
Okay.
And growing up in my family, some of my family members would look at me and they would say bruja or brujita. And I would be like, what? Um, but I was always into the magic. I was always into, plants, and I would pick herbs, and I was always into that as a child. Crystals, um, animals, just very in my own world as a child. And so I always kept that with me because I always have been a little bit of a brujita. I love brewing my own teas,
Mhm.
growing my own plants, things like that. So just that stuck with me.
Is it a Spanish word?
Yes.
Okay, right, bruhita. So it's something like new to my vocabulary, actually.
Yeah, you say it
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So, how, your journey in the past, were there some, as you mentioned, your grandmother was suffering from cancer, and were there some other, personal reasons to, which you would like to actually share with the viewers, that how you overcome some fears or some challenges of your past life through all these practices?
Yeah, so I struggled with addiction for a long time. I struggled with alcoholism, depression, anxiety. Those were all things that even before my grandmother got sick, I dealt with. And I was trying to cover up all these things with substance when in reality I needed to face them. And finding tarot, finding Reiki, working with chakras, understanding energy, doing the shadow work, facing myself is how I really was able to overcome all of that. I did go to therapy. I did take, medication. I did do all of that, but I needed to get to the root of the problem.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until, I faced, traumas from my childhood, abusive relationships, really seeing like, why am I hurting myself, and working on self-love. And that's when I was able to really break down the barriers of these problems and tear them down, and be able to say, hey, I am a good person. I do deserve love, and I do deserve to be happy, and live life and enjoy it. So it was really getting to the root of it all that helped me get where I'm at. And I feel that I can, with my clients and individuals that I work with, I always tell them, I'm not here to be better than you. I'm here to walk with you because I've been through it already. And at some point, you're going to walk on your own. You don't need me. You don't need anyone to fix you. You yourself have that power to fix yourself.
It's like very important, the thing which you have mentioned. Like there are many people out there, not only in your country but even over here in India, like who feel that alcohol or some drugs, they are the actual way out. But because you have yourself gone through it, so you can explain it well that actually these are just temporary reliefs and they are not the permanent solution.
Exactly. It's just a band-aid. I went from substance to substance trying to find, you know, different alcohols, substance and alcohol. It's all, you're just seeking something more, and it's just this short-lived, it's not the real answer. It's not, it doesn't really bring you happiness, even though when you're in that position, you think, oh, I'm drinking, I'm happy, but you're not. You're covering something up. And, you
Mhm. So
know, I,
temporarily, it would numb your,
exactly,
senses, but it's not a permanent solution.
correct.
Right, right, right. So then, how did you like start? Like, did you start with meditation or like directly some counseling or something? How did you start with all these things?
So I started with a great therapist, and I think it's really important to find your therapist, a counselor, a group therapy, those resources where you live. I think that it's important to have those resources available, and finding the right person. Sometimes you meet a therapist and they might not be the right person for you. It's okay to say, hey, I don't really like this person, and find someone that you're comfortable with. But it started with a great therapist. Uh, and she actually had to move, so I had to find another therapist, but then actually finding a group. And I was very anti-group. I didn't want to work with other people, but when you hear other people's stories, you can relate, and I think that facilitates a lot of healing. And recently I've gotten more into the meditation and quieting the mind and listening to myself. I think those are all vital practices to turn off the screens and sit with yourself.
Listening to your own self, this is like very important point. I want you to elaborate this for us a little bit more, that in today's life we listen to every other voice except our own, I feel. So like for you, how was it like when you started listening to your own self, you found the solutions?
Yeah, so I realized that there were a lot of voices in my head that weren't mine. The ego, uh, my parents' voice, my ex-boyfriend's voice, all these voices that I was worried about being judged. But I think that when you're in the process of healing and you take a moment to quiet yourself and say, who am I? What do I want for myself? The ego is very loud, and the intuition is whisper, and you don't hear the whisper if you don't quiet your mind. And so for me, sometimes I'm an advocate for, you don't have to sit down to meditate. You can go on a walk and meditate. You can,
Yes.
and that's a form of meditation. Some people listen to music, and that's their way of meditating, just quieting the whole everything, just being present. And
Right, right, right. So, Nicole, before we move ahead with the conversation, let us watch a short creative where like different glimpses of your life are shown. Let's
Mhm.
just watch them. Who is that cute little baby in the photographs?
That is my niece,
Okay.
Lena. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So we were talking about meditation, and like you have also mentioned that how it benefited you, right? But
Mhm.
like, don't you think that this is the most like easiest thing to actually do and heal our own selves? But this is the only thing we avoid.
Yeah, we do.
We always find out, try to find, reasons for not going for it. How did
100%.
it change your whole life? How did it help you?
So I started doing guided meditations like on YouTube. I just searched
Mhm.
and I started those, and that helped.
Mhm.
And then recently, in the last, I think, since October 1st, I have
Mhm.
meditated all day. And I practice Kundalini yoga, which is a form
Mhm.
of meditation. And since October 1st up until today, because I meditated before this today, it's been life changing because I think when you're able to quiet your mind, feel your feelings, and really understand the thoughts that you have, and have kind of like a conversation with yourself. And I
Mhm.
think something that I've learned is taking my problems to the mat, to the meditation,
Mhm.
saying, before I go into meditation, this is bothering me.
Mhm.
And then I go into meditation, and then what comes up for me? Why is this bothering me? And sometimes after the meditation, I'll take some notes and write them down and maybe revisit them. But you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. We avoid it. We find so many reasons to avoid healing ourselves.
Mhm. Sometimes some people complain that my mind it sways around, it goes here and there. But I think it's okay. Like in the beginning, it will happen in this way, but gradually the mind also learns to tame itself.
Correct. It's like riding a bike. You're not going to ride a bike the first time. My first
Mhm.
few times of vacation, I was like thinking about, oh, I have to cook dinner. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to, your mind jumps everywhere. But as you train the brain like a muscle, it's going to start to do what it needs to do. It took me some time. And so if anyone's experiencing that, it's okay.
Mhm.
The fact that you're doing it, even if your mind jumps around, the fact that you're taking the time to meditate is training the brain. It's giving it what it
Mhm.
needs.
Mhm. Right. So you are into Reiki too. You are a Reiki master now. So I want to
Yes.
ask you this question that like how can we identify the like energies around us, like whether like this is something, some kind of energy which is good for me, or this is the energy which is actually creating some problems for my own aura or my own energies. How can a simple person like in day to day life find out the negativity and the positivity around?
I think that our bodies are a great channel to tell us good energy and bad energy. And I like to use this example. When you go to the grocery store, for example, there's a lot of energy there.
Hmm.
So I always recommend just protecting your energy, like saying, hey, I'm protecting my energy. I don't want any negative energy to attach to me when I go to the grocery store. And you might go to the grocery store and see someone and you smile at them and they smile at you and you feel good, right?
Mhm.
And then sometimes you might run into someone and you kind of get this feeling in your stomach, or you kind of get
Hmm.
this little nudge. That's your body reading energy. You know when you see someone, how do you feel around them?
Hmm.
Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling anxious? That's a sign that maybe their energy isn't vibing with yours, or there's something off. Um, but that's mostly what I do. Is sometimes I'll feel I'm very sensitive, but I feel how I feel around certain people, even around my own family. Like there's some
Mhm.
family members where I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna be on this side,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
we are a clear channel. We know children are really good at reading energy,
Mhm.
even animals. You have a dog or a cat, like
Yeah.
sometimes animals know, they're like, they kind of walk away from it. So
Mhm.
we have the ability to kind of control that, or kind of feel, even in relationships, like, why do I feel this way around this person?
Mhm. Right.
Checking in with yourself.
Mhm. So sometimes I've seen that Reiki Masters they provide services through online channels also. So is it possible like to channelize the energy of the other person even through these like mods when like you are not actually like physically present in front of that person? You are there is distance. Is it
Right.
possible and even then?
Yes, it is possible. So I learned Reiki through distance.
Okay.
I've Reiki. Most of my clients are distance Reiki, all over the world. I've practiced on various people. Energy and time and space is very, it kind of doesn't have boundaries when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
energy work.
Okay.
Definitely want to have that person's permission to be able to tap into their energy and work with their energy. But time and space don't prevent you from being able to practice Reiki.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what about these like tarot readings? So, and these days there is a trend of knowing the situations or taking the next step only after going to the master and knowing what the reading tells. So, do you think that one should be dependent enough on these readings that before taking any further step in life about any decision, something important, they should first be consulting and then only take the next step?
Well, that's a really great question, because I get people who want to know about a relationship, for example, and I can interpret what the cards say to you, and ultimately you're going to make that decision. And I tell my
Hmm.
clients that, sometimes people want to know the future, and they want to know, oh, is this going to happen, or is this going to happen? But the reality is, we all have free will. So I can tell you, oh, you're going to go through, for example, you're going to go through this green door, and then you're going to go through a tunnel, and you're going to find a pot of gold, right? But you have free will. Maybe you don't want to go through the green door. Maybe you decide that you want to go down the trail to the red door, down the mountain, and then you find the pot of gold. We make choices every day, and that every minute we can change the trajectory of our future. And so I tell my clients, I'm just interpreting the cards. I mostly will give people confirmation. A lot of people come for like confirmation of something, like, I'm feeling this way. What do the cards say? But ultimately, I do have clients who try to come back, like, oh, I want to come back and do this now, or I need another reading. And it's like, you don't need another reading, because you know the answers. You can't heavily rely on the tarot cards to do that for you when you have the power yourself. I don't even rely on them. If I pull a card for myself, it's because I want to reflect on my day and reflect on the energy of that card and how my day went about, and kind of journal about it. But I'm not constantly pulling cards to see the future, because then you're not living your life, and you have to live and you have to make mistakes. And so a lot of clients come to me for follow-ups or confirmation or to get another perspective, a third party perspective. But
Yes.
no, I don't think that people shouldn't live your life according to a tarot reading, because you can change your future at any time in any way that you would like.
Absolutely. It's very important what you have mentioned, that decision is their own. You can
Mhm.
just guide about the steps, the doors actually, but they themselves have to like come forth and cross that door. It's their
Exactly.
own decision. Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
there are a lot of readers who make a lot of money by taking
Hmm.
advantage of people. And that's also something that people should be cognizant about, is that you have the power to
And
make the
can you
choice.
like give us some insight into this too? That how can we like identify, like if I talk about myself, that how would I know that this is the person, this is the the tarot reader I should go to, or like any tip you want to give us, that this is how we can identify if the person is just faking it, or he or she is actually having some knowledge, how to find out that thing.
So before I read tarot myself, I went to a lot of tarot readers,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had great ones and I've had not so great ones.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is that, look at the reader, trust your intuition, like don't rush. I think a lot of people rush and want to answer right away. Look at it. Does this person do a lot of readings a day? Are they just getting this like quick money? Or are they taking their time with it? Are they giving you, a genuine response? Or are they just copying what's in the book? Because I've had readings that I've paid for where they literally took a picture of the what's in the book and sent me the card, and that was it. There was no heartfelt message. Trusting your intuition, looking if they have testimonials. Do you know someone who's maybe gotten a reading from them? A lot of readers, we expand based on testimonials, word of mouth. Even with my Reiki clients, they tell a friend, they tell a family member, and that's how we grow. I would just be mindful of how these people conduct business. Are they taking their time? Things like that. And really, how do you feel when you encounter this person's Instagram? How do you feel if you encounter their Twitter or their YouTube? How do they make you feel? Just don't rush into it. And even I tell my clients, even if you don't come back and work with me, that's 100% okay. But make sure that you are listening to your intuition and going to someone that's going to treat you well.
Yeah. Nicole, I'll just request you to rejoin the stream, as your video has again just stopped. If you can just
Okay,
do that for me. Yeah, just rejoin quickly.
no problem.
So, viewers, we are talking to Nicole Morales. She's a bruhita, Reiki Master, tarot reader, host of Healing with Nicole podcast, and she has just rejoined us. Yeah, I'm so sorry for it, but I don't know what's the problem with the network. So it's wonderful. You talked about intuition, that it's very important to trust the intuition, right? So earlier, like there was this trend of going to the doctors and to know something, and then like in our part in India, we had the tendency to even talk to astrologers. Now,
Mhm.
but what do you feel? What is the role of healers in today's world? Has it increased, like its importance has increased, or do you think that now the people are more confused about things? What is your personal opinion about it?
I think that a lot of people are seeking healing, and I think it's good. I think it's definitely good. There's like an awakening, and people want to better themselves and they want to explore. But I think that a lot of people have to realize that you have to heal yourself. You can go to 100 healers, and if you don't do the work, you're not going to get any benefit from it. Like, yeah, with Reiki, you're going to get energy, and yeah, you're going to feel good, but if you don't do the work associated, like when I work with clients, I tell them, oh, you need to work on your root chakra or your throat chakra. Here's some homework. Here's some things that you can do. Some of my clients do it, some of them don't. If you don't do the work, you're not going to get results. And I think that a lot of people want this instant gratification of a quick
Yeah.
fix, and that's not how healing works. It's very a lot of steps involved.
Yeah, a lot of patience, right?
Mhm.
So you're talking about chakras. I know nowadays people have become more aware about chakra healing and all. But how can like a person know that which chakra requires healing, or is it important to heal all the chakras? Like how do you go about it?
So I feel that people, when they hear about chakras, they always want to work on their crown. Oh, I want
Yeah.
my crown, third eye open, I want to be, and you should actually start at your root. If you're interested in working on your chakras, um, you could look up root chakra journal prompts, and that's kind of where I started. And just start with the root and then go from the root up. A lot of people focus on the upper chakras, realizing that you need to be focusing on the lower chakras in order for the upper chakras to even be open.
Because I think most of the times like people have this notion that like even if they don't know about chakras, they simply would close their eyes, they think that they are meditating and they just concentrate over here on the third eye. So it's rightly like said by you that first we need to work on the root chakras, not directly over here on the third eye.
Right.
Right. So, when you talk to people, Nicole, what like common problems do they share with you? The young generation or the old, and like what are the common things they are suffering from or they require the healing for?
A lot of relationship trauma, a lot of sadness from relationships that didn't work out, not understanding why my relationships are constantly failing. A lot of lack of self-love, seeking love from others but not loving themselves is a common one. Not feeling safe. That also, those are the main. Usually, a lot of people come to me for healing from like love or just it didn't work
Relationships.
out. Yeah, relationships, but then, really getting to the root of why the relationship didn't work, and why maybe you have issues with communication, or why you have issues with safety in relationships. There's looking at your childhood, there's a lot involved in that. Like a lot of our issues stem from childhood and how we were raised and who was involved in our upbringing. A big factor that some people are realizing and starting to look for that healing, look for those answers.
Right. Nicole, I want you to like tell about your social media handles and how can like if somebody wants to reach you, how can they reach you for your services?
Sure. So you can find me on my website, healingwithnicole.net. I'm on Instagram at healing.with.nicole, or you can find me on Twitter at healwithnicole.
Right. All right, so we have come towards the like the last part of the show. So towards the end, I want to ask you that what message do you want to give to the people like who require healing but are actually afraid of pouring their heart out to someone? What do you want to say to those people?
Um, I've been there too. I've been afraid to heal myself. I've been afraid to reach out to others. I would, don't be afraid. There are good people, there are good healers out there who want to be there with you and help you. And just know that you have the power to heal yourself. Any good healer is going to walk with you on your journey, not ahead of you, not behind you. They're going to walk with you. And at some point, you're going to walk on your path alone because you shouldn't need me. You shouldn't need any healer. It's kind of like a training wheel on a bike. You don't need the training wheel forever. Eventually,
Yes.
you ride on two wheels by yourself. And you can. And it's okay to fall and get back up. That's part of healing.
Very rightly said. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us today for this talk. And whatever you have mentioned, it is something we require this reassurance from time to time. Some of the things we already know that we need self love. We need to love ourselves first, and then the world will love us. But we tend to forget all these things. But you have just brought a kind of reassurance, and you have reaffirmed all these ideas that yes, it is required, you need to do it. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for sharing your wonderful experiences with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, viewers. Thank you for watching the show today. So, this was Nicole Morales from California. She's a Reiki Master, tarot card reader, host of Healing with Nicole podcast. You can listen to her podcast. They are like quite insightful, and she has deep and like wonderful knowledge about the chakras, the energies, and everything. So, follow her on Twitter, Instagram, and you will always be benefited out of it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.